are launching a report on basic income support for 18 to 60-year-olds. The economic hardships caused by the COVID-19 pandemic led to a decline in employment, which saw the country losing a substantial number of formal and informal jobs in 2020. This prompted a discussion on income support. Representatives from the South African government and the United Nations Joint SDG Fund in South Africa, civil society, private sector and social grant beneficiaries are part of this discussion. Let's take you there live.
If there are any on the platform, and if there aren't any young people on the platform, you must make sure that in future there are young people on the platform, on such platforms, because it's important that we share the shaping of South Africa together, young and old, women and men, and take equal responsibility in making sure that we shape our country to what we want it to be. And I believe that young people should participate in shaping the country today and not wait for tomorrow. Program Director Nozipho Shabalala, thank you very much for being here. A very good South African morning to you all, even if in Johannesburg there's not that much of the sun. It's raining, it's a blessing, we need the raining. We are sorry that in some places of the Eastern Cape, it is really devastating, but we do need the rain. Right at the outset, please allow me to convey my get well wishes to Professor Vivian Taylor, whom we had hoped would join us this morning. She's not with us this morning due to ill health. Professor Taylor has played a tremendous role in the pursuit of the realization of a progressive social security framework for South Africa. The significance of her work as a socialist activist, public servant, and scholar is indelible to discussions about social security as much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we seem to have a little bit of a technical issue. Minister, my apologies. We lost you there for a few seconds. The weather is incredibly bad throughout the country today. Minister, my apologies. We seem to have lost you for a second there. I think we just have a bit of a technical issue there. I know that the minister is going to reconnect. If I could just invite our colleagues just to ask for Minister to just quickly reconnect, and then we'll get back on track with our program. With this terrible weather, which is a blessing, as the minister has indicated, we are likely to experience some technical issues. But while we wait for the minister, minister has already indicated the need for a whole of government approach. And so it's quite encouraging to see the Chief Director for Policy Development representing Human Settlements, who's inputted into the chat today and has acknowledged that she is also here attending. That's Madame Nonhlanhla Buthelezi. Welcome to you. And of course, if there are any other representatives across government, do let us know so that we do know that we are with you. I do see that our Honourable Minister is back. Minister, we do apologize. I think it's just a function of the weather this morning. And so with that, let me hand back to you, Minister.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, it's just the network. I guess the weather is also not doing us a favor today. The Committee of Inquiry into Comprehensive System of Social Security for South Africa, commonly referred to the Taylor Committee, is the embodiment of this point. Accordingly, today's discussions are a reflection of continuing parts of the work that she contributed to the field of social security. I wish her health, strength, and deep recovery, because we need her in these discussions. As we all learned yesterday that President Cyril Ramaphosa tested positive for COVID-19 and is receiving the relevant treatment, we pray for him too, and all South Africans, that they all have a speedy recovery. I've just come out of it myself, and I do want to indicate that everybody must go and vaccinate, because I'm sure that if I hadn't been vaccinated, I might have been in a bad situation. I recovered already quickly, and I'm back into action. It is indeed my honor and privilege to welcome everyone to this important webinar wherein we are announcing the launch of the expert panel report on basic income support. This webinar forms part of a series of a diversity of engagements and outputs through which we are encouraging rigorous examination and solutions, co-creation of matters that are relevant to South Africa's social assistance program. You will recall that nearly 7 weeks following the confirmation of South Africa's first case of a person who tested COVID-19 in 2019, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the extraordinary coronavirus budget of 500 billion that was aimed at cushioning some of the socio-economic hardships that the country and the COVID-19 pandemic was having on our people. Representing 10% of our gross domestic product, these investments were directed towards, inter alia, the provision of medical testing supplies and food, and addressing the loss of economic productivity and earnings. Within that, the department was tasked with implementing the special COVID-19 social relief of distress, which we call SRD, of 350 a month for unemployed beneficiaries. To this end, during its first iteration, the special COVID-19 SRD grant benefited the households of more than 6 million beneficiaries from the allocated 55 billion. In the remaining months of 2021-2022 financial year, the Department of Social Development will be coordinating and delivering a few more webinars that are targeted at promoting healthy discourse with a particular emphasis on projecting the voices of beneficiaries and communities who experience our work. For instance, in October this year, together with the World Bank, we launched the Social Assistance Program and System Review, South Africa report that reviewed South Africa's social assistance program. In many aspects, the findings of this report are very encouraging. For instance, the report vindicates that the initiatives that the department introduced in response to COVID-19 shocks, insofar as we innovatively expanded access to social assistance through the use of digital technologies and reinforced whole of society collaborations. I know that, as a matter of fact, we are still struggling with some of the services to our people, and making sure that the services that we provide as a Department of Social Development is easily accessible to people. And we're doing everything we can to make sure that we use technology to solve the problems of the future. The World Bank report was followed by the launch of the department's own report on the implementation of this special COVID-19 social relief of distress grant. This report provided important data about the attributes of grant recipients, their felt needs, and their experience when they interact with our service points, particularly the grant application and payment system. And we are proud, obviously, to say that as far as the 350 is concerned, we did not put our hands in the air when we were at level 5 and level 4 and people needed to go and apply. We used technology, and all those people who applied from the very beginning, who were almost to the tune of 10 million people from the beginning, applied through technology, and none of them ever went to offices, including the fact that in receiving the grant that had been promised to them of 350, none of them had to go to offices except for those that obviously had to go to the post office. And we are in engagement in trying to resolve some of the problems that we have with the post office in order for us to bring dignity and give dignity to our people. So the above two reports that I referred to do not only confirm that our social transfers are developmental in nature, but most importantly, they challenge the state to enhance its program design and strengthen implementation towards meaningful human-level outcomes and societal impact. The expert panel report on basic income grant support that we are launching today forms an important element of our ongoing efforts to institutionalize basic income grant support. owing to the interdisciplinary investments by all our partners in academia, civil society, and multilateral institutions. The expert panel report provides persuasive guidelines with which we must respond to the questions of the appropriateness and feasibility of extending basic income support to our citizens who are between the ages of 18 and 59. This report reinforces the need to invoke both courage and science that we will all need in sustaining an intelligent dialogue on basic income grant support. You will recall that when delivering this year's Nelson Mandela Memorial Lecture, President Cyril Ramaphosa challenged us to be brave when speaking about these matters. Sooner than later, dialogues must come to an end, and piloting and implementation must start to define the reason we started this conversation just over 2 years ago. And I do want to indicate, when I say we started the discussion 2 years ago, it was simply that as a department and myself, Minister and Deputy Minister, we were looking for what will happen when the SRD comes to an end. We're not even looking at how long a COVID-19 was going to take. We're just thinking that its impact is going to be devastating. And therefore, we're looking for something else that we can be able to use, or the extension of the SRD grant itself. It was the officials of the department, in particular Brenda Sibego and Brenton, who then said to me, Minister, there is a document that has been sitting with us in the department that was worked through the Taylor Committee and all. This is the document. And I said to them, let's pull it out, let's look at it, and let's see if it can be able to assist us. We are here now, and we are hoping that this time around, we're not going to take that document and put it back in the shelves. We will do exactly what the president has asked us to do, to be creative.
Ladies and gentlemen, we seem to have lost the minister again, but as she was getting to the tail end, Minister, we lost you for 2 seconds. You were just picking up on what the president has encouraged us to do. So if you can pick it up from there, please, Minister. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I was saying that with respect to the document, to the report, the Taylor report, the president, we've taken it through the necessary processes and still have, of course, to take it through cabinet and all. But the president has said to us as a department, we must be creative, we must be innovative, we must be broad, and we must look at other partners that can help us in ensuring that we come up with how this can be implemented. That's what I had just said. Coming slightly a month after the medium-term budget policy statement, this report, as well as today's deliberations, have the opportunity to present tangible strategies and approaches that will, in a manner that protects dignity, establish comprehensive and sustainable social security systems that are responsive to the needs of our people, particularly the vulnerable among them. Put differently, in light of the fiscal constraint, this is the best opportunity for the report to demonstrate how legitimate basic income support can be innovated to protect those who need it, namely those between the ages of 18 and 59. It is in this context that our efforts must be targeted at improving the state of the people where they live. It is about the state of the people. The state of the people speaks to whether each and every one of us is able to live, adapt, be resilient, shape our environment, prosper, and grow as members of the South African society. When sufficiently improved, the state of the people will be self-evident in the improvement of the multiple dimensions of each person's life, inclusive of the physical, material, nutritional, psychosocial, emotional, spiritual, belonging, participation, health, intellectual, sustainability, security, environmental, vocational, and economic dimensions of our people. Owing to the so-called civilizing effect of colonialism apartheid, our society remains stubbornly patriarchal with high levels of poverty, inequalities, unemployment, and trust deficit. Consequently, central to our efforts to revolutionize our social assistance landscape should be unapologetic challenges to the assumption that sustain this regressive orthodoxy, whose only logic is the reproduction of patriarchy, poverty and inequalities, unemployment and alienation. This has to come to an end. We believe that the expansion of social assistance framework is the key to common and inclusive economic participation, the reduction of inequalities, and real instrument of lifting a large number of South Africans out of poverty. Implemented side by side with employment creation and entrepreneurship support initiatives, the expanded social assistance framework can positively impact on individuals' lives as much as it can support households towards the level of resilience with which they can protect themselves against the invasive and undesirable social ills. Consequently, our people's standard of living will improve and our economic growth will be inclusive. As part of a solid plan to address the structural economic problems, a deep social assistance framework should help generate a common prosperity for all South Africans. And as I conclude, Program Director, I am pleased to receive the expert panel report on basic income support today. This report is now an integral part of our policy engagement arsenal, pursuant of our people, public, private, civic, academic, multilateral partnership. I thank all South Africans for always investing your time and interest in related public engagements. I express my appreciation to our civic society and nonprofit sector for your continued advocacy and public education. Working together, we can do more. I want to thank each and every one of the faculty members and researchers who contributed to the diligent authoring of this report. Your personal investment to this subject matter is acknowledged. My gratitude goes to each and every presenter and discussant for taking time out of your busy schedule to prepare and meaningfully participate in this webinar. I also wish to recognize the ongoing partnership that we are having with the ILO for your continued support of our government's decent work agenda. I wish you well for the remainder of the webinar and trust that you will have fruitful discussions as you delve deep into the content of the report. I believe that this webinar will greatly contribute to the solutions that our society and government are crafting with respect to the basic income grant. I urge you all to be more vigilant with your lives as well as those of your loved ones. Lead healthy lifestyle, wash your hands with soap and water, sanitize, wear your mask, maintain safe physical distance when in social settings, and especially because we're going on to Christmas, and vaccinate. Be safe and live. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Lindiwe Zulu. Courage and science, she has called on us as we continue these dialogue sessions. She also reminds us that we need to dialogue, but we also need to be courageous in taking those dialogues into action. And we need to begin to seeing pilots. She's called on us to be creative and she's called on us to be innovative. And she says to us at the end of the tunnel is the possibility of moving towards a common, inclusive economy where job creation is a reality, where entrepreneurial support is a reality, but it all starts with the whole of society. So, Minister, you'd be pleased to know that there are many different representations on this webinar today, from human settlements to the presidency, to GovChat, to the Black Women Caucus, to the Disaster Relief Fund, and many, many more who have said hello to all of us. I'm also acknowledging that there has been a question in the chat, and allow me to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, please use the Q&A function for questions so that they don't get lost in the chat. And so, Esther Ramani, I noted your question, and if you could move it over to the Q&A. And Eldred Jordan, the minister, is commenting and saying, this should be called the State of the People report, really speaking to the tone and posture of this moment. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on now from our opening and introductory remarks, which we've heard from the Honorable Minister and Dr. Musa Bayana, We are now going to move to our first speaker, Professor Marius Olivier from the International Institute for Law and Policy from Northwest University, who's going to give us a constitutional perspective and share with us from the point of view of a rights-based.
We're going to come out of that basic income support webinar just addressed by the Minister of Social Development, Minister Lindiwe Zulu. You're watching The Agenda. Let's take a break. We'll be back.